Every 4 years, the chosen few get a chance to become world champions. Tonight, we'll see who will represent the Fern. For some, this World Cup stage will be their first.
This guy is a freak.
For others, their last.
Aaron Smith!
Is this the greatest ever era, even for New Zealand? Well, it feels like it right now.
Today is the day. After years of work from Ian Foster and his coaching staff, we are ready to find out who the 33 men are that we are sending over to France in a very short space of time to represent New Zealand at the Rugby World Cup. Kia ora e te whānau, a very warm welcome to this special edition of The Breakdown. I'm Laura McGoldrick. I've got Jeff Wilson, Mills Muliaina and Sir John Kirwan here to, I don't know, prepare everyone for what is going to be a really exciting day for 33 men. Disappointment for some, but I'm feeling a little nervous and excited about the squad announcement. Sir John, should we start with you? JK, you look very calm.
No, I actually got a bit emotional watching that stuff because I've won one and lost one, and it just brought back a whole lot of memories about guys I used to play with and stuff. And I just think it's a big moment. I'm not nervous about my selection at all because I had to, agree to disagree and commit to him, which.
I don't know how many times already, JK, from last night I've been told how wrong I am in terms of my squad, but you're right. It's a massive moment in a player's career because you've worked so hard, Mills. You've worked for this opportunity to represent your country at the highest level. And yes, a lot of these players have been there before, but there's a number that have never tasted this experience. And I was the same. You think, have you done enough, Mills? We'll find out today. 33 of them are going to get the chance to go and possibly win a Rugby World Cup.
Also for the public as well. Even us discussing our squad, who's in, who's out, does the split look like? On the back end of the fantastic games that they've played, so a lot of guys will miss out, but also it's an exciting moment. Here's our 33, the country we're going to get in behind for the Rugby World Cup.
The most famous player to miss out that went on to be unbelievable? Manonu. So imagine that. Manonu missed out.
He's still playing, but I don't think he's going to make this squad.
You never know, Jeff. You're not a selector. You're not a selector.
Right.
We are going to actually head now to Napier with our very own Kirsty Stanway, who's going to tell us a little bit about maybe what we can expect.
Thanks so much, Laura. We are so close to the Rugby World Cup squad announcement. 33 names will be read out. The All Blacks will walk through here and there will be a massive cheer because we're in the heart of the Hawke's Bay Magpie country. We're in Taradale. There are 1,500 people here. All of these seats are by invite only. These are people that lost their homes in the devastating Cyclone Gabrielle earlier this year. The first responders are here as well, fire and emergency, police, the Surf Life Saving Club as well. But look at all these kids. All of these kids absolutely love the All Blacks. Who's your favourite player?
Bowden Barrett.
Bowden Barrett. What about you?
Aaron Smith.
Oh, you like Aaron Smith? Who do you like?
Richie Rwanga.
Oh, we've got quite a few players here. Do you think they're all going to the Rugby World Cup?
Yes.
Can we get a go the All Blacks?
Yes.
Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Go the All Blacks!
There you go. See, excitement is crazy here in the Hawke's Bay. They absolutely love it. And they were all hugely devastated by the cyclone. So it's so good to be able to bring the All Blacks announcement here to the Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, it's fantastic that they're there. Great to see the All Blacks out in the community, not just in Napier, but even for the test in Dunedin. You saw them out and about handing out free coffee with you, Jeff, and you just love to see it because kids, they just don't forget things like that, do they?
Well, I think they've focused really hard over the last month or so on making sure that they've been visible, they've been out in the community. This is another great thing that they're doing for the community down there in Hawke's Bay. But ultimately now, I mean, all of the work that goes into selecting the side, all the preparation that you put together. And I think when I look at this, yes, they've played all these great games, these performances, Mills, JK, but ultimately selection goes a long way to you winning. And do they get the balance right in this group? And who is it they don't take? And who is it they trust to go and do the job? This has been a massive challenge for them.
Oh, huge in terms of that. Would have been hours sort of been spoken about after each test match, who gets an opportunity, who goes out there, who's put their hand up, who hasn't quite put their hand up. And also bearing in mind, they would have been looking over the New Zealand A squad, that toured Japan. So a lot to go through. I mean, and also logistically, how do they hide 33 All Blacks going into the Hawke's Bay? Wonderful place to be able to announce a squad, but do they come in all on a private jet or something like that? Gee, these days have changed,
Yeah,
haven't they?
I'm surprised we haven't had a few more. Oh, but they've kept it all relatively hush-hush. But JK, I'd love to know, if you know, having been part of it, what makes the World Cup so special? Because we as fans, we know, because every 4 years, exciting, there's a trophy. But as a player, what makes a World Cup so special?
It's actually totally different to what you normally do. You can't really explain it. It's a one-off. There's so much riding on it. There's going to be different things that are happening during the World Cup. So to win one is incredibly difficult. And I think as time goes on, it's relatively young in rugby. You think about Patrick Ewing, who played NBA, never won a title.
Chip.
And so things like that, you, as a rugby player, you want to be the best you can be. But sometimes it's out of your hands. Sometimes you have an off day. You know, sometimes the other team's just better for 10 minutes. And so that's why it's so hard. And it's really different. You know, Richie McCaw said it's like climbing Everest for 4 weekends in a row. And really hard. If you look at the championship, Goldie, teams can't really win them all anymore. You know, we lose to Argentina last year, then we beat South Africa. You lose to South Africa, then you beat them. So as the competition gets better and the second-tier nations are getting better, Japan, Italy are getting better, it'll get harder and harder.
Yeah, and the other thing that's different about this Rugby World Cup is it's longer. And you might not think, oh, what's a week? But in terms of that tournament, that's significant in how you prepare. The All Blacks have got a period where they don't play for 2 weeks. So how do they manage that, and how do they rotate the players in? And given the fact that they know their first game against France is so difficult, Mills, and then it's not until probably the quarterfinal. Yes, Italy will be a challenge, but not until the quarterfinal, which is about 5 weeks later, that they'll have another mountain to climb. I think management of this group and the selection of it is going to be critical. Getting
back to selection, Mills, I want to ask you, how many were easy versus how many was hard from a names point of view? Because I had a look at it. I had a look at it today, and I reckon 29 easy actually, and the other 4 or 5 hard. There's sort of 5 positions maximum where you're going, ooh, and someone's going to miss out that deserves to go.
Well, I think the split dictated that, really, to be totally honest, 19-14 as opposed to 18-15, right? And so do you go with more forwards? I think that the backs, obviously, you know, I'd love to, you know, shore up some of our forwards and have an extra sort of forward rather than taking a back, because we've got so many guys that are actually versatile in our back division. So, but to go to your point, I mean, it's hard to keep a lot of those guys out. You've got to think of the blood, sweat and tears they would have gone through throughout Super Rugby. 4 years is a long time to go to Rugby World Cup. And if you miss this time round, it's so hard to go back again. Man, I've been to 3. Fortunately enough to win 1, and I wasn't even playing. So it's just the whole squad in general as well. You know, you might not be playing in the final, but you're part of that whole 33-man squad that's going to bring a cup home, hopefully.
Hopefully. It's exciting, and I wonder how much chat was around the injuries that happened over the weekend and how much changes had to go into that. So we're going to cross back now to Kirsty, who's in the Hawke's Bay.
Thanks so much. We've found a couple of seasoned journalists, Elliot Smith from News Talk ZB, Ollie Ritchie from News Hub. Thanks so much for joining us. You two have been flying around the country today. What's the word on the street? Have you had any PI detectives out and about canvassing where the All Blacks are?
I'll tell you what, Kirsty, I've had a couple of spies out at Christchurch Airport who reckon Leicester Fainga'anuku is on the plane here to Napier. So look out for that one in a few minutes' time. Tamaiti Williams, I think, might be there as well. Was Drew Moody on the plane? Can't quite figure that one out there, but the spies are out around the country. It's great to see.
So it's not just maybe a holiday to the Hawke's Bay, Ollie?
Well, it's a great holiday destination, to be fair, but I think they might have other business to take care of. Apparently, Fletcher Newell also on that plane out of Christchurch as well. So certainly someone's doing the business for us at Christchurch Airport, but some heavy boys out of there.
What are the positions, do you think, after the weekend that were still up for grabs? 33 will be named. Ian Foster, by the sounds of it, he had most of them. What are those swing positions?
Well, I think the outside backs, can they take Leicester Fainga'anuku, can they take Amoni Nara and Caleb Clark all in their outside 3? Did Sean Stevenson do enough to stake a claim on the weekend? Those are the discussion I think that they'll be really zeroing in on as they debated this one. And also the props as well. 33 players, you take 6 props. Joe Moody, was he fit? Nipo Lalala might be on the custom selection, so those are the names that I'm going to look out for when they're read out shortly.
Elliot's probably left you with nothing, Ollie. But for you, who would be the surprise name in the 33 if there is to be one?
Yeah, I think on the outsides as well. If Imoni was to be named, I think it's quite congested in the outside backs, so I don't see there being room for him. I think the midfield is another point. David Havili is one that they have not closed the door on. He's obviously come back from injury, played for Tasman, got through a half a footy for them. I would not be surprised to see Havili's name included as well, and also the makeup of the loose forward trio, or the loose forward mix, I think will be interesting. Whether they can find room for Sammy Penifina, I thought he was good on debut. I think he deserves a place at the World Cup, so I think those will be some interesting points as well.
Two of the best rugby journalists around. Are you two on the plane to France?
Yes, we'll be there.
Bonjour, Kirsty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, team. Yes, Ollie and Elliot, some of the best. It's a big day for not just the All Blacks, but the media who cover it as well, because they're excited about what is to come as we get ready for this World Cup. We're going to cross back to the Pedigree Arena in Napier with Ian Foster, who's going to tell us a little bit about why we're there.
Kia ora, everyone. I want to sum this up with one word, which is wow. What a great evening. Absolutely humbled by looking around and seeing this community. I guess what I want to share with you, we've got a special night coming up and some special names are going to get read out. But why are we here? We're here because we've all watched from afar the challenges this community right through the East Coast has had the last 6 months, and I guess we've seen pictures and heard stories and sympathised with you, but it's been really tough to I guess find ways to show our support for what you've had to go through. And so the reason we are here is that we wanted to bring you something that's very special to us, which is the naming of an All Black squad for a World Cup, and give it to you as a small gift. And I know it doesn't do much for the hardship and the challenges you have had and the challenges you're going forward, but please accept it as a token that you are very much in our thoughts and prayers, and we know that this community's had a hard struggle. And we just didn't want to bring this. We want to be here for the next couple of days. We'd love to see you at our open training on Wednesday, and we've got some community work to do tomorrow, which we're excited about as a group. And it's important that this group, that whilst we're in a privileged position, being in the All Blacks, going to a World Cup, what is really critical is that we're really thankful and grounded, and we understand the people that we represent, and this community does that for us. So I just want to thank you for allowing us into your community, and let's have a special couple of days. Thank you.
A really lovely speech there from Ian Foster, and great to go back into the community. Like he said, we've seen a lot about the devastation that Cyclone Gabrielle caused, but once it goes out of the news, it's still happening for Napier, but we tend to forget about it in other parts of the country. So it's fantastic to see the All Blacks are there. Ian Foster, we mentioned earlier, it's the last All Black squad he picks in his role, so it's emotional for him as well.
Absolutely, and you saw how he celebrated the win in Dunedin, because it was the last Test match that he was going to play in Dunedin with his family and with the team, and so I think ultimately this will be tough for Fozzie's. The fact that he's got a big goal in front of him, but the last time in front of his local fans, his home fans, and he's gone. I think it's a beautiful thing they've done, but he'll be looking forward to this being done, dusted, and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And JK, how do you think he'll be feeling, though? That lots of emotions. He doesn't seem like a particularly emotional guy, but it's a big deal to fit. He seemed a bit there. Yeah,
you could hear it in his voice, couldn't you? You hear the emotion in his voice, and he normally keeps pretty well controlled. It wasn't by choice. He'd love to have the opportunity to stay, so it's going to be an incredibly emotional ride for him. And he'll have to keep those emotions in check. But he's been working, and the staff has, for the rugby union for 20 years, and so it's an incredibly emotional time, regardless, World Cup. So beautiful gesture to take back to the community, but he'll have a huge and emotional roller coaster, Mills.
Yeah, but also probably excitement now. I echo exactly what both of you have said in terms of how wonderful it is to take it back to the community and give something back to that devastation that they've sort of gone through. But also exciting for him now that they've had to, they've picked a team to get the country behind them and go over to France and really, hopefully, I think those emotions will come back. once they make the finals. But for now, it's the excitement of getting this team together, going over there and working through these next few weeks to make, to hopefully bring that cup back.
We say the word excitement a lot in this, but will there be an element of relief? Because you some sleepless nights, I imagine, in a World Cup team. So he's also going, thank the Pope, we're done with this.
Even Aaron Smith will sleep better tonight.
Yeah.
And he's the first one on the plane.
Yep.
There is no way, and I've been through it a lot, that you don't have a little bit of doubt in your mind.
Yeah.
Can they still change their minds now?
Yeah.
Grateful you've come off, and you're injury-free as well, right?
Yeah.
After these hard test matches. I mean, you're absolutely right.
And you have to spare a thought for the fact the hard conversations they would have had to have in the last 24 hours. When bottom line, he's had to make some difficult changes. He may have changed, he may not have, they may have known. But up until this team gets named, that's it. All of a sudden, he's put his line in the sand and everyone else knows where they sit. And this group know exactly what it takes now and when they're getting on the plane, and they can't wait.
It's exciting times, and the time is now. We're going to cross back to Napier with Richie McCaw.
Kia ora koutou. It's a great privilege to be able to stand here today to read out the names of the guys that have made the team to go to France. So here is your All Black squad for the 2023 Rugby World Cup in alphabetical order as follows. Beauden Barrett, Blues and Taranaki. Geordie Barrett, Hurricanes and Taranaki. Scott Barrett, Crusaders and Taranaki. Sam Cane, All Blacks captain, Chiefs and Bay of Plenty. Finlay Christie, Blues and Tasman. Caleb Clark, Blues and Auckland. Dane Coles, Hurricanes and Wellington. Ethan de Groot, Highlanders and Southland. Lester Whainganuku, Crusaders and Tasman. Shannon Frizzell, Highlanders and Tasman. David Havili, Crusaders and Tasman. Rico Ioane, Blues and Auckland. Luke Jacobson, Chiefs and Waikato. Will Jordan, Crusaders and Tasman. Nipo Lelala, Blues and Counties Manukau. Anton Leonard Brown, Chiefs and Waikato. Tyrell Lomax, Hurricanes and Tasman. Damien McKenzie, Chiefs and Waikato. Richie Moanga, Crusaders and Canterbury. Emoni Narewa, Chiefs and Bay of Plenty. Fletcher Newell, Crusaders and Canterbury. Dalton Papali'i, Blues and Counties Manukau. Brodie Retallick, Chiefs and Hawke's Bay. Cam Roygard, Hurricanes and Counties Manukau. Artie Savia, Hurricanes and Wellington. Aaron Smith, Highlanders and Manawatu. Samasoni Takiaho, Chiefs and Waikato. Cody Taylor, Crusaders and Canterbury. Mark Talia, Blues and North Harbour. Ofa Tuangafasi, Blues and Northland. Tupu Vai, Chiefs and Taranaki. Samuel Whitelock, Crusaders and Canterbury. And finally, Tamaiti Williams, Crusaders and Canterbury. Congratulations to all those selected. I want you guys to all know that myself and the country are behind you all the way. But being named is obviously an honour and a privilege, and it's something to celebrate, but we all know that this is where the hard work starts. Winning World Cups is a big mountain to climb, but we're with you all the way on that climb. I'd like to welcome All Black captain Sam Cane to come up and say a few words.
So there it is, your 33-man squad going to represent New Zealand in the Rugby World Cup in 33 days, I think it is. Jeff, for you, any surprises?
No, there's no surprises there. I mean, you think about it, obviously Brodie Retallick is going to be fit and available going into that. They don't feel as though they needed to take any further lock cover where we thought maybe a Josh Lord was going to be involved. Look, they've decided to take 6 props. That was in terms of their protection. They had plenty of versatility there, Mills. Look, ultimately, the guys are in form. They've gone with that split. Only 5 loose forwards, no room for Semi Penny-Finau, which is probably the biggest surprise in terms of his ability to play 6 and 8, but they feel as though they've got that covered.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where they've ended up with an extra back as well. He's an outside back, and Clark makes, comes into that sort of fold. But yeah, obviously without Sami Penny-Finau, they feel that they've got plenty there with Scott Barrett that can also play 6. Tupai Vai can also cover that sort of 6 position, which bolsters them up with a couple. But that's a really good squad. It's a really good squad. 6 props. We went for 5, but they've added another one there, so they all go, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Finau, I thought he'd done enough. I thought he played really, really well on the weekend, and I thought they were looking for that style of play. I'm ecstatic for Caleb Clark, because I thought he was going to be the guy that might miss out because of the mix when he deserved to go, but they have taken a lot of outside backs. Moody, I thought might be, we're going to take you for experience. I don't know how his injury was. And there was still rumours right up until I was driving here about Blackadder. So I think it is a really, really good squad, and I think that they've got the mix right. I am a little bit worried about the amount of outside backs versus the amount of loose forwards, but, only because there's a high attrition rate in the loose forwards. But yeah, it's a very good side. The other thing that really, I've just been writing while I've been listening, and the names, Blackadder, Amua, Sotutu, Ioane, Weber, Fakatava, all those guys were, during Super Rugby, being named to be in the squad. So the people that missed out is still a pretty good side.
I can understand. All of these names are good enough to wear the All Black jersey. It's whether or not how the balance of the squad was being put together. And so the moment, like you say, they decided to go with 6 props, they had to make a sacrifice somewhere, and that's been in the loose forward area. And
I did not think that would happen.
No.
I thought they'd sacrifice us beautiful outside backs, Mills.
Yeah.
Right? Because for me, the 6 props and taking a loose forward out, that's quite unusual, I believe, right? Because you think about the attrition rate of loose forwards. For me, that's really, really interesting. Or whether they think, they've got enough, and the person like, Samapene might be it's okay to fly him over because they might not see him as someone that would be ready to play a test match.
One of the things I would say is that there's a massive amount of time between games in this tournament, a huge number. 7 days, then there's 14 days, then there's another 7 days, and then there's 10 days before you hit the quarterfinal. So in terms of attrition for me, Mills, I look at it and go, if they can stay healthy, which we've seen through the course of the Rugby Championship, they haven't needed bodies. In fact, they rotated players for the last test match in Dunedin. They could have played the same team again. They don't play for another 3 weeks. So I think when you look at this group, they've gone for a vastly experienced team. That's what they've wanted, and they've wanted guys, I think, actually have some resilience about them. And I like that. Look, I love the squad. You've got a feel for some players, but ultimately, this is a really, really good team.
Who do you think is the most unlucky?
I don't think there is. I think if you look at the squad, this is basically what he had for the championship, right? It's the makeup of, do you take an extra lock to cover that sort of position here? Josh Lord's there, possibly Finau. But given what we've just sort of spoken about, I mean, guys can actually cover that. And so they've obviously bolstered. If you look at the outside backs, they're the ones that have had an extra. Because like you said, JK, you would have thought you would have sacrificed one of the outside backs. But when you look at it, you've actually got sort of 2 in each position in terms of the wings, and then a couple of fullbacks in Will Jordan and Bowden Barrett. And when you're over there, they're actually quality wings, so they can easily swap them in and out. That's perhaps where they're going to with that. At least he can cover the midfield also. So it's a really good team. And the biggest thing is no one has been picked from outside the initial group, right? He's kept with the guys that he's picked right from the get-go.
So this is what I wrote down. Savia can cover 8 and 7 and 6 at a pinch. Dalton Papali'i can cover 6, 7. Luke Jacobs 6, 7 and 8 he can cover. Sam Cane 7 and probably 6 at a pinch. Frizzell 6 and 4 at a pinch. So when you look at the 5, they're really versatile. But I still thought they would take an outside back out. But anyway.
I love the fact that, and I'm hoping I'm right, that the Brodie Retallick injury is not too serious.
It can't be.
It can't be. It gives me great confidence if that's what I look at it and go, they feel confident that Tupou Vai is going to be able to cover him, and maybe in the first game off the bench if they need to, if he's not quite ready. They feel as though there's plenty of time, and we've heard 4 to 6 weeks. We might hear a little bit later whether or not there's more details around that, but that gives me great confidence. And that I think opened up possibilities. And
I tried to tell you both last night.
Don't you? I knew you'd do this.
Both last night.
I knew you would do this.
I told you that he walked over to see his family and he didn't have ice on his knee and he was walking okay. But you wouldn't listen.
That was the first time I've heard
Mills?
that.
You didn't bring that up last night. Look, I mean, it's great news for the All Blacks if that's the case, and he's going to be good to go.
Does it open the door for Scott Barrett to play 6?
No.
No?
No.
Hey, look, don't shoot the question asker. I'm just...
No, the reason why it's a strong no, and the reason why I think that they've taken that mix is because I think Scott Barrett has to stay at lock to do what we need him to do in the World Cup, either starting or not starting, because Sam Whitelock and Retallick stood up. But I don't think we can afford the idiosyncrasies of lock that he's really nailed by putting him at 6 for what game? I just don't think it'd help the man stay in the great form that he is.
What's been a blessing is the fact, in some ways, during the Crusaders, was that Whitelock's been out with injury, right? So that's probably forced, Barrett to play lock consistently. And so if we're looking at this and he's chopping and changing week in, week out with the Crusaders and also with the All Blacks, you'd say, oh, man, he's probably a 6 and a 4. But now, the way he's been playing at lock and the consistency he's actually starting to bring, it gives you comfort that Brodie Retallick's out. And you even say that Barrett he is playing some good footy at lock. He'd probably be the number 1 at the moment, isn't he?
Well, I look at this group and look at the tournament itself, and you talked about going to Everest. There's 4 massive test matches. There's the opening game, and then there's 3 a quarter, semi and final. I have no issues with the fact that this group can go through that, and we know who our number 1 side is, and it's not Scott Barrett at blindside flanker. It's him playing at lock and having that.
So that's a hard no then, just to confirm.
No, but the interesting thing.
Were you trying to find a way to put another Crusader in the team? Because we've got plenty.
The interesting thing for me, and we all know it, when you've got competition breathing down your neck, it makes you a better football team. So think about this. Sam Whitelock, 144 games, and Scott Barrett is like those 3 don't know who's going to play, and they're our brilliant best players. So you imagine the competition that creates. You look at the outside backs. You're going, wow, who are you going to pick? How good is that? That makes every training an edge, because these guys, they've just been picked. You know what they'll be thinking about tomorrow morning at breakfast? How do I make the final? How do I get in that team? How am I going to get my moment? How am I going to make sure I shine so that I'm actually in the 23 that plays the final?
It's an exciting time, and I bet there's a lot of relieved players over there in Napier, and Kirsty Stanway has one of them, Luke Jacobson.
Luke, second Rugby World Cup, but the first one never really got off the ground, so how does this one feel?
Yeah, obviously last time round didn't quite go to plan, but no, it's been awesome last 24 hours. Get the first call from Posy last night. Yeah, it sort of took me back to 4 years ago when I came home, and really special to get the nod to go ahead. It obviously hasn't been the smoothest last 4 years as well, so to be here at the pinnacle of it, stoked. Yeah.
Biggest smile on your face. How do you feel?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know, hard to put into words. I was like on the call last night as well. I didn't really have much to say, but yeah, just real privilege, real humbled to be here, and it's pretty special. Yeah.
After the last 3 years, countless amounts of time off the field through injury, did you think you were going to get back here to the Rugby World Cup? I mean, you weren't included in the squad last year. When did you sort of start thinking it's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just came into this year with a real... I mean, I come into each year trying to play as well as I can, but this year that little bit of extra carrot at the end of it. And I think a big thing for me this year was being able to stay on the field, and just made sure I did everything I could in that side of things. I guess a little bit of luck as well. Sometimes injuries are unlucky and it happens at bad times, so you just got to take it with a grain of salt. But thankfully things went well for me this year, and I was able to put out some decent rugby onto the field as well. And very happy that it's landed me here.
So stoked for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Yes, it was a head knock that cut his Rugby World Cup short last time round, but you feel he absolutely deserves his place. He had a great Super Rugby, Jeff, and I enjoyed watching him. I actually enjoyed chatting to him in terms of the person that he is. He's a great ambassador for the game.
Well, you think when you've got to wait 4 years to get your next opportunity to Rugby World Cup, when you were that close to being part of one in 2019, I think he's had a remarkable season. But it's his versatility that's his biggest asset. He has the ability across all three positions, 6, 7 and 8. He understands his roles. I'm really happy for him. But one thing, when I just look down the squad again, this is a vastly experienced team. Yes, there's some players like a Tamaiti Williams and a Fletcher Newell, a Moni Narawa, who haven't tasted a lot of international rugby, but then there's so many other players. The numbers we're talking about, and history tells us, J.K. Mills, experience wins Rugby World Cups. Every side that's gone there. It's not a young team that wins it, it's experience in big moments. There's enough, certainly enough in the squad.
I don't totally agree with that. I think experience and enough youth in there to keep everything exciting. Getting back to Luke Jacobson, I remember the disappointment in Japan, but you know, there's some guys that don't need to play well in Super Rugby and they're always going to be available for the side. Aaron Smith, you know, Whitelocks, Retalix, but he continues to have to prove himself. I don't know why, you know, he's been around 4 years, but he had a huge super season. And his versatility is something that you go, would you be worried about him at 8? No. Would you be worried about him at 6? No, because he's just one of those guys that nails his role and he's a hard worker. But I was also nervous for him, just because I thought, maybe they're going to take a bigger 6 in finale, and they're going to leave. He's still one of those guys that you think, he might be left out. Half the country leaves him out. But I'm just so pleased for him because he deserves it.
He absolutely does. Very exciting day for him and his family. All the 33 men that have been announced today over in Napier. We've got plenty more to unpack here on the breakdown. We'll take a short break. When we come back, more of these fantastic All Blacks getting ready to represent us at the World Cup. No, my hockey mai, welcome back to a very special edition of The Breakdown. We are getting ready for this Rugby World Cup. The 33-man squad has just been announced, and I think we're all very pleased from what I can gather. Everyone pretty excited about the squad that we've just had announced by former captain Richie McCaw. Jeff, JK, there's a lot of hand gestures that you can't see because you haven't looked at the squad there, but what's going on?
He's blaming me for something.
Yeah, Josh Lord. Actually, you, Mills, came down with that little list of yours, mate. And you said he's, you got to take Josh Lord because Retallick's injured. He started the rumour.
You agreed, mate. You both agreed on this, so don't come back at me.
No, if he was really injured.
I had good reason. I thought there might be an outside back that might leave out, which you agree that they could have possibly done, for a Lock Lucy.
You took yourself as being Jason Ryan way too serious.
Look, what I'm upset about is I didn't get to come and I didn't get to try any of the red wine. But anyway, that's for a different day. We're going to cross back to Napier now with Kirsty, who's got Brodie Retallick.
Brodie Retallick, congratulations. But I guess secondary to the Rugby World Cup announcement, being back here in the Hawke's Bay, your hometown where your family reside, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's obviously awesome to get named. And then when Fozzie mentioned that they might come to the Hawke's Bay a few weeks ago, I said, yeah, I think it'll be a great spot. And obviously with the reception tonight, it's great to see.
Yeah, did you hear the crowd cheer for you when you walked out? I think that was the biggest cheer of the night.
Yeah, maybe because I'm the only one from Hawke's Bay, but at least it wasn't the quietest.
Tell us what it feels like to be going to your third Rugby World Cup. What's it like this time around compared to the first?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed too much. We all knew that we were going to get a phone call on Sunday afternoon and we'd have to wait for that. And I actually missed the call from Gilbert, so I rang him back. I didn't want to wait for him to ring back. And yeah, it's always exciting to hear that you're in the squad.
Any nerves around the injury? How is the knee after what we've been hearing in the media, 4 to 6 weeks that you might have to sit out? Is that true or are you okay?
Yeah, it's not ideal timing, obviously, with where we're at. And yeah, it is a little bit sore, I'm not going to lie about it. But yeah, I'm going on the timeline that the doctors have said and hopefully be available for the second pool game. So yeah, but yeah, we'll miss maybe 2 games, 3 at worst. And yeah, I'll just have to follow their plan there and hope that it goes to the timeline.
We've got a week to restart before you head over to the UK. Congratulations on being named once again. Go and be amongst your family and your fans here.
No worries, thanks very much.
Right, so we breathe a wee sigh of relief with that knee injury. Should be back second pool game, third at worst. Is that a risk, though, to take someone who might not be ready until the third pool game of a Rugby World Cup?
Not unless he's Brodie Retallick.
OK, right. Well, that answers that then. I'm appreciating just...
No, but I'm just trying to think about, let's say you play Namibia. Who's going to be your third lock?
Oh, look,
does it then become someone like Shannon Frizzell might be on the bench and he might cover lock because you'll play...
Tupou Vai's there, isn't he?
I think the great thing about this team and this group, but also the fact that what happened last weekend, that Tupou Vai gives you great confidence that he has well and truly stepped up to the mark. He was really good when he came off the bench, and so he's responded in the All Black jersey. I'm not too concerned about it. It's Namibia. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we should be able to put together a forward back, which doesn't need to be dominant, which should go really well. And yep, I think there's versatility there. The interesting thing will be is how they manage the top guys, right? How they manage them through those games, Namibia, Italy and Uruguay. Now that'll be the interesting conversation that comes out next.
The South African game, that's that first one as well. I mean, it's effectively 3 locks that they're going to end up only using, really, and rotating those guys around.
It is interesting. It's really interesting, though. It is an interesting question because that's why we actually spoke about Lord.
Yeah.
Just to be safe. And so that if there's any risk, it's probably that.
Or could they take someone to play in the South African game?
Are they allowed to?
Don't know.
All right, well, look, what we'll do is we'll cross now to Ian Foster. Maybe he's got some thoughts on it.
Ian, congratulations. The 33 names to represent the All Blacks at the Rugby World Cup. It's an exciting time. Is it relief? How are you feeling? Maybe a little bit of stress and anxiety after some of the calls you had to make?
Yeah, look, it's always a tough time, but it's an exciting time. There's 33 people that selectors have chosen, and we're really comfortable with the group we've got. We know there's some really good people that haven't missed out, and that's always been the challenge with picking All Black squads. But if you look at the depth we've got, the experience with a balance of over half the team, this is their first World Cup. There's a nice mix of enthusiasm, youth, and a bit of gnarly old experience too.
Can you give us a couple of injury updates? Obviously, Brodie Retallick, there's a few scares about him. And what about some of the guys that haven't made the squad? Joe Moody, Ethan Blackadder, where are these guys all at?
Well, it's quite a list. I'm not sure you want to hear it all, but Brodie's knee's probably about a 6 week. But we're not 100% sure. So whether it's be round 1, round 2 of the World Cup, we're not sure. But we really believe he's earned his selection, and we can manage that. Who else did you say?
Joe Moody and Ethan Blackadder, how close were they to this squad?
Oh, look, very close. I mean, Ethan is... They're both unfortunately got sort of re-injuries the last couple of weeks, and that's sort of set them back a little bit. And we really felt, you know, particularly like with Ethan, he's not due to play for another sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Moods is sooner than that. We think Moods is in about 2 weeks' time. But you know, with the compilation of his time off and our program, and having to go into that first part of this World Cup fully loaded, we just really want him to go and get some game time in the meantime. We've got a lot of faith in him. He's a special player, and he's done a lot in this black jersey, and hopefully there's going to be an opportunity later for him.
When did you decide this 33?
Just now, just announced it. Nah, look, we had it pretty well linked in, but there's some things happened the last couple of weeks. Like I said, there's been a couple of re-injuries of bodies, and there's been things happen. You know, Braden Enor's knee, which is devastating for him, and he's done everything he can. So you get those stories with All Black announcements, and it's tough. But the reality is, you know, we've still got to hop on a plane with 33.
Is this a better team than you took to the 2019 Rugby World Cup?
Well, let other people decide that. I don't know, but we've got...
Sir Steve said it this morning.
Well, I've got to listen to the boss, but reality is we've got to prove everything, don't we? And we know that, and that's what we've been trying to, seeking to do the last 6 weeks. We've been not focusing too much on what other people are saying. We just want to get our performance right, because that's our job. And delighted with where we're at, confident going into this World Cup.
And you've got a test in a couple of weeks, your final test before the World Cup. You're taking a few extra players over. Who are they and why?
Yeah, we're adding 3 players. It was always a plan, by the way, to add 3 more just for training reasons. They can't join us when we go to Lyon, but they can join us for the 2 weeks before that. So we're going to be taking over Brad Webber as a a fourth 9, Samipeni Finau, who will come over and may even be involved in that South African game with Brodie's knee potentially, and George Bell is going to join us as a fourth hooker. It's Asafo Moore's pulled his calf and is out for 8 weeks, which has happened on the weekend. So it's a great opportunity for George for us to get to know him.
And just finally, how confident are you that you will return to New Zealand in October with the William Webb Ellis Cup?
Oh, look, you can never be 100% in this business. We all know what World Cups are like. We've just seen that in football with the USA team getting knocked out. We've seen it in netball. We know that World Cups, you just got to go and perform on the stage. Am I confident of where we're at? Very confident.
Well, congratulations, and from all of us at Sky, we absolutely love you. The things that you've been through over the last 12 months have been tough, but look where you are now. Congratulations.
Thanks, Kirsty. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, funny things happen at World Cups, like he just said. So this is the 33-man squad that is going over to France that we are talking about. But the injury cover is, I think, what we need to break down a little bit further now. They're taking 3 extra men over for that South Africa test, Webber, Finau and George Bell. I'll start with you, JK. I feel for Brad Webber in all of this, because I think he's a good player. I don't know what's happened. I felt like at some point he might have even been in that 33-man squad. Yeah,
and it comes down to 3 men's opinion, right? I think he's outstanding. He's probably one of those players that's been unlucky. I'm pleased he's going over there. But the reason that they take an extra halfback and an extra hooker is it's way too complicated. You just can't come in and pick the game up. You're got extra stuff to do within the team. And Webber is the perfect guy to take over. Bell, I thought, is an interesting one, instead of Amour, possibly. So that's interesting. But it'll be about line-out calls and throwing. So there's always people that, miss out that you think he could have gone, and Webber's always been that guy for me.
Isn't it unusual, though? I mean, we've taken a 4th halfback, and also George Bell, a 4th hooker.
Yeah, but I think that's just keep them up to speed. Keep them up to speed. Yeah. Keep them up to speed. Keep them up to speed. Keep them prepared just in case. But I think the Samipeni Finau going over as well tells you how close he was to the squad. Yeah.
They said we might even see him in that South Africa test.
Yeah, exactly. So that tells you how important they think he is. If something was to happen to any of that loose forward combination in the Rugby World Cup, I think that would be the guy for me who would come in. If they lost anyone, a 6 or 8, and we don't need any cover at 7, right, JK? If we've got Ari Savia there, you've got Sam Cane and Dalton Popularity, 3 options. You've talked about that 6-8 position. I think they feel strongly about this guy being able to come in if they needed him So, the George Bell one thing is, he's got his hands up in the air again.
No, I'm just saying that Dan Carter changed our world because all of a sudden we need 3 in a position, not 2 like traditionally, right? So
I can't go back to 2011. It's actually a bit soon for me to relive all.
Yeah, I know, but what happens now? So if you think about what you just said, they might pay Jacobson at 7 against South Africa at Twickenham because he could be their third 7, right? And so they'll start. Because these guys plan meticulously. They will know already what their South African side is, more or less. So if he says that, you might see him out there, you will see him out there, either off the bench or not. And you might see them mixing it up a wee bit, might cost you a friendly, but then you're saying, OK, who's your third, who's your fourth? They might put Webber and Bell on the bench, right? And put them on late. Because if you get an injury in that position, you don't need to see them coming in, with 10 or 15 days to go in the World Cup, not knowing your line-out calls and not knowing your back moves and your scrum moves.
It's a very, very exciting time, and I feel like we're going to talk about a lot of this for a very long while yet. But what we're going to do now is we're going to cross back to Kirsty, who's got David Havili.
David, congratulations. It's been touch and go with the hamstring injury, but how does it finally feel to be named in the Rugby World Cup squad and on that plane?
Yeah, pretty surreal to be honest. I don't think it's really sunk in yet. Once I call mum and that and let them know, and I'm sure they'll be watching this right now, so I'll call the family and that's when it'll sink in. But yeah, a lot of unknown going into the last month and a half. But once I stepped out there on Friday night, I knew that the hammy was good and ready to go. So if I was ready to get that phone call, I knew I'd be ready. So yeah.
When did you actually find out? Because you obviously played for Tasman 40 minutes on Friday night. When did you get the call?
I found out last night. Foz gave me a call, and it was either going to be good or bad news, and I was grateful that it was good. So extremely happy to be here, and I can't wait to get stuck in.
You're one of these experienced players that have never quite experienced the Rugby World Cup. Have any of the older boys, some of your Crusaders teammates, told you what to expect? How different is it to just regular All Blacks?
Yeah, it's extremely different. Like, every game means everything. You need to be your best at each game, and the guys like Richie and Codes, they've all told me their experiences. So really looking forward to what it holds, and I can't wait to hopefully be out there playing.
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
So David Havili is an interesting one. We talked briefly at the start about Ethan Blackadder, how close. There's a lot of chat around will he, won't he make it, but due to his injury. Well, Havili's come off quite a lengthy injury. Why he? Why would they trust him enough? He's only played 30-odd tests.
Sorry, I mentioned before that they didn't go outside the group. He's the only one they've gone outside the group. Why do they trust him? I think the makeup of the squad and what backup you need in terms of the midfield combination. He's in my team all day, every day, and the way he came back, he just balances, that midfield combination out. He's solid under, in defence. His accuracy in terms of his skill set. But he's a little bit different in terms of when you're looking at the loosies. And now Ethan Blackadder's out for another 4 weeks. He's not kind of in the Brodie Retallick sort of space where he's in the environment and out. You've really got to make a decision based on that. And we've heard Ian Foster say it before with the props. You can't afford guys that have been out for a lengthy time to then start, getting themselves up to speed. David Havili is different.
Because he's a Crusader, is that probably why? I think so.
6 tests, Blackadder, Crusader. 35 tests, Havili, Crusader. Look, I just think that he transferred from fullback to fill a hole that we didn't have. This is pre-Geordie. He nailed it. He brings a different style of game. He's got great angles. He's a leader. He'll be a good voice. The interesting thing about it was touch and go, like you said. If you think Aaron Smith will sleep tonight because he got selected, this guy will be snoring all night, be the greatest night's sleep he's ever had. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be his roommate. But it's true. This guy had an injury right up till the death and played on Friday night and got selected. But he's an experience. He's probably in the leadership group, Mills and Goldie, and that's why they go, you're in. Blackadder, and I'm sure he's going to come back, and I'm hoping he's going to come back, but hasn't been able to stay on the field this year. 6 only tests, and he got injured again, which is really unfortunate because he's got so much to offer. Yeah, you have to feel for those boys. Jeff, I know there's so much you have to say, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a wee break so you can have a cup of tea, and these guys can have a glass of water. They're doing a lot of talking, and I'll keep talking about how wonderful the Crusaders are. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk a little more about this brilliant 33-man squad getting ready to represent New Zealand at the Rugby World Cup.
Kia ora everyone, welcome back to this special edition of Breakdown as we have heard the 33-man strong squad heading to the World Cup, playing for the All Blacks. Very exciting times in Napier. We're going to cross now to Kirsty, who has got Damien McKenzie.
Damien, congratulations. It's hard to believe, but first Rugby World Cup after the devastation of 2019. How do you feel?
Oh, beyond excited, obviously. Got a call yesterday, and once you sort of get told, it's a bit of relief, and yeah, just stoked to be a part of this amazing team and be able to head away to France in a couple of weeks' time. It's special.
First people you told, tell us about that phone call. Who was it and what happened afterwards? Was there a party at yours or Anton's house?
Nah, there was just Anton and I were together, so it was, went out for a wee nice dinners together, and otherwise I just told my parents, but my close family, and let them know. So much relief for them as much as it was for me. So they're really excited and proud of the year we've had, and yeah, obviously there's a lot more to come. So great.
And for some of the other boys in this team, I mean, who are you excited to see at the Rugby World Cup? There's a lot of new faces.
Oh, there is, for sure. I think the guys who are experiencing their first World Cup, like it's special, and I think the guys who have had a fantastic year this year, the guys who have recently new All Blacks, for them to get an opportunity is awesome. A good teammate, Monty, he's there, so looking forward to seeing how he goes, and just the whole team in general. But it's an exciting squad to be a part of, and really looking forward to the next couple of months.
Well done. Stay fit. We don't want to jinx you, but we'll see you in France.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, hugely exciting time for those brilliant All Blacks, and a sense of relief I'm sure we've talked about. Their families will be so excited for them as well. Now they don't have to hide it. They, like JK, you were saying, they can sleep better tonight. But this man here, how much did he deserve his spot?
Oh, look, I think that, and Mills, I don't know whether you agree, but I think we missed him at the last World Cup. I still think he's the greatest impact player we've got. He's transformed himself from a fullback to a first five at international level. Like, that is a talented young man, but he brings something different. At standoff, he plays like a rugby league standoff, runs across the field. So that is gold in a World Cup.
It enables us to focus of Beauden Barrett as a fullback. It enables Beauden Barrett to focus on playing that position and knowing that's going to be where he can have his biggest impact for this side. Now, I would be surprised if at any stage, if anything happened to Richie Mo'unga, and I hope it doesn't, if they move Beauden Barrett forward. I think they're settled on how they want to play the game, and Beauden's owning that backfield with the option of Will Jordan moving back there as well. Look, I mean, I think he was always going to go, and Damien McKenzie was always going to go in this team. And look, I really love the side. I really do. I mean, if you were asking for a team that had all the characteristics you'd like, Mills, going to a Rugby World Cup, it's all there. But ultimately now, they start again in some way, right? Is the fact that the challenge is all in front of them because they've got the team that's good enough on paper.
You think this is a team good enough on paper that could win us a World Cup, Mills?
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, you spoke about it before, a mix of, youth and experience. If you look across your props, you've got experience here for Tunga Fasi, Laulala, amongst some youth, Dane Coles, Cody Taylor. Go right to Barrett. There's a couple in every sort of position that you'd go, man, this is a nice, solid sort of team that we've got sort of picked here. And guys like, McKenzie, having the luxury of having him there allows you to have other selections like a Beauden Barrett to just focus on fullback.
I have one word and one challenge for you all.
Oh, God.
Quarter-final.
Let's just talk about game one. We've got a few games to play. We have a few games to play before.
How do we get there? But this team can win the World Cup. I think it's a great team. Got no issues whatsoever. But what I'm saying to you is how do you get into that quarter-final, which is going to be critical? Two teams go home. So do you play your full side? You're going to play it against France.
Because do you have to make a statement at a World Cup?
And then do you back it up and do you play your best side against Uruguay or you play half the side? What do you do? Because you've got to go into that side. So Richie McCaw, go back to the Everest thing, and he just said it on TV. He says 4 games. Because you've got the one before you play the quarter-final, then you've got quarter-final, semi-final, final. So what do you do against Uruguay? We're going to beat them by 100 points, mate.
Well, we hope, but let's just play the first game first, because I'm interested to know what the tactic is in terms of the statement you make at a World Cup. How crucial is it to go out and win well against France, or are we not thinking that's the plan?
Right? I think that game will be important, but the roll-in, that 4 weeks out, and we've seen these last 3 weeks, right? How much you have to get up for a game week in, week out. And there's a couple of breaks in between these last sort of games. So you don't get that in the World Cup once it comes to the last sort of game. You have to go in really hot once it gets that last sort of pool game and roll in, with your best team those 3 games.
The first game's not a knockout game. The first game is not a knockout.
Tell South Africa that, right? Last World Cup, they lost to us and went on to win it.
Exactly. So, I mean, as nice as
you guys
it would be
not
for confidence and yep, we are where we think we are. They'll have an opportunity to build from that first game because they've got the benefit of time and they've got other matches. Like you say, they need to be lifting through the back. Are you going to answer
my question, you guys?
Exactly. It's quarter-final time. So we won't know.
My question was, are you going to play your full side against Uruguay and beat them by 100, or are you going to play your best side, France, Italy, and then the other guy?
But should you not be
going
doing
fresh?
That, though? Should you not do that, though, so everyone, you know, it's another chance to just, you know,
Not
refine your
Uruguay.
position? You don't?
Not against Uruguay. You're going to beat them by 100 points.
It's 2 weeks between Italy and the quarterfinals.
No disrespect, 70.
2 weeks.
Does that work in our
weeks.
favour, having the 2 weeks, given that we're coming in with, the Brodie Retallick injury?
These guys are smart enough, experienced enough. They know how to plan their preparation. I have no issues with the fact we've seen players and teams after a couple of weeks break come in and perform.
So you break them.
Really well.
So you rest them against Uruguay and you hit the quarterfinal.
Argentina, South Africa. Look, this is a team that's well and truly good enough.
I'm just happy with the team at the moment. We'll get to that point when we get too close to the World Cup, mate. Come on, you guys have just got to calm down and celebrate this.
I think we all need to calm down as well. I think let's take one more look at that World Cup squad. Can we have one last glimpse of it? It is a strong 33-man squad heading over to France to represent us in the Rugby World Cup. Everyone here very happy. I think if you give me one word to describe this squad, JK, I'll start with you.
The best possible squad.
One word. The best possible squad. Yes, okay.
Solid.
Solid. Oh, I like solid. Jeff?
Winners.
Oh, winners. I'm going to say ours, because that's what they are. They are our All Blacks heading over to represent us at the Rugby World Cup. And it has been such a privilege to cover this with you. It's been so exciting. I feel like we've talked about this for such an extended period of time. Here we finally are. There they are, the All Blacks. That is our squad heading over to the Rugby World Cup. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Received. And the throw is good. Pops it up to Tony Woodcock. Here's his kick. And he's nailed it. And the All Blacks are the world champions for the second time. Bowden Barrett's got a heap of pace. He leads the charge. Go Bowden! That's on do it! That's the World Cup! First team to go back to back. And the first to win 3 times.